The alarm started at 3 in the morning. G1 jumped from her bed and ran to the communications station. Her hands moved fast across the controls. Something was coming through the deep space channels, something she had never seen before. The space station floated far from Earth, near Neptune. It was cold and dark out here. G1 worked alone most nights, watching for signals from distant places. Usually, there was nothing. Tonight was different. The signal was weak. It kept breaking up. G1 recorded everything and started working on it. She tried different ways to clean it up. Hours passed. The sun never came to this part of space. She drank coffee and kept working. By morning, she had something. It was a message. Not from humans. From someone else. G1 called her boss. Captain Taesung arrived quickly. He was a tall man, with gray hair and serious eyes. He looked at the data on her screen. "Play it," he said. The message started. Strange sounds filled the room. Then the computer translated it into words they could understand. A calm voice spoke. But there was fear behind it. "This is Velara Prime. We are the Velen Collective. Our world is dying. The Krath came 3 months ago. They have destroyed our ships. Our shields are failing. Our cities are burning. We send this message to anyone who can hear. We do not ask for rescue. We only ask that someone knows we existed. That we tried to survive. That we..." The message cut off. Then it started again from the beginning. It was a loop, playing over and over. Taesung stood very still. "How long has this been transmitting?" "I think for weeks," G1 said. "Maybe months. It takes time for signals to reach us out here. Send everything to Earth. Mark it urgent. Priority 1. G1's hands shook as she sent the data. She had been listening to a message from dying people. People who thought no one would come. People who had given up hope. The message reached Earth in minutes. It went straight to the United Earth Council. Within an hour, every important person on the planet knew about it. The council chamber was huge. Representatives from every nation sat in a circle. Big screens showed the stars and the location of Velara Prime. It was far away. Very far. Ambassador Haijin stood up to speak. She was young for her position, but everyone respected her. She had worked for peace her whole life. Today, she was asking for war. "We have heard their cry," she said. "The Velens don't even know we exist. They sent that message hoping anyone would hear. They are dying while we sit here and debate." An older man stood up. "We don't know these aliens. We don't know if they're telling the truth. This could be a trap." "A trap that's been running for months?" Haijin asked. "A trap that doesn't even ask us to come? They think they're already dead. This is a goodbye message, not a trick." Another voice spoke up. "Even if it's real, Velara Prime is 12 weeks away. By the time we get there, they'll be gone. We'll be risking our ships and people for nothing." Admiral Dae-ho had been quiet until now. He was the head of Earth's defense fleet, a military man with more battles than anyone alive. He stood slowly. Everyone went silent. "I've been a soldier for 40 years, Dae-ho said. "I've seen what happens when good people do nothing. I've watched enemies grow strong because we waited too long. But that's not why we should go. Dae-ho, 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 Dae-ho," Dae-ho said. "Dae-ho." He pressed a button. The Velen message played again. The translated voice filled the chamber. "We should go because they asked for help," Dae-ho continued. "Not from us. From anyone. They're so desperate they're calling out to the universe. And we heard them. That makes it our responsibility. But the cost," someone started. "The cost?" Dae-ho's voice was hard. "What's the cost of becoming the kind of species that hears a cry for help and does nothing?" What's the cost of teaching our children that we only help people when it's convenient? The room was silent. I say we vote, Heejin said. All in favor of sending aid to Valara Prime? Hands went up. Not all of them, but enough. The motion passes, the council leader announced. Admiral Deho. Prepare the fleet. Deho nodded. We'll need 3 weeks to get ready. And I'm not sending a rescue mission. I'm sending an army. Back at the Neptune station, G1 watched the news. Earth was mobilizing. Every shipyard was lighting up. Every soldier was being called. Captain Tae-sung came to her station. You did good work. You found them. Will we get there in time? G1 asked. Tae-sung looked at the stars. I don't know. But at least they won't die alone. At least someone is coming. On Earth, the work began immediately. Factories that made ships doubled their shifts. Weapons that had been stored in warehouses were brought out and checked. New weapons were built. Dangerous weapons that had never been used before. Admiral Dae-ho stood in the command center, looking at the fleet roster. 42 ships, 20,000 Marines. Enough firepower to crack a planet. It was the biggest fleet humanity had ever built. His second-in-command approached. Sir, some people are saying we're overreacting, that we're wasting resources. Dae-ho kept looking at the screens. Let them talk. They're not the ones who heard that message. They're not the ones who have to live with doing nothing. Do you think the Velans are still alive? I don't know, Dae-ho admitted. But the Krath will be. And they need to learn something. What's that, sir? Dae-ho turned to face him. His eyes were cold and determined. That humanity doesn't forgive monsters. That we don't forget cries for help. And that we're coming. 3 weeks later, the fleet was ready. 42 ships in formation around Earth. Crews at their stations. Weapons loaded. Engines warm. Admiral Dae-ho sat in his command chair on the flagship Indomitable. Around him, officers worked at their stations. Everything was ready. All ships report ready, sir, an officer said. Dae-ho took a deep breath. Somewhere far away, people were dying. People who had called for help. People who thought no one cared. Take us out, Dae-ho ordered. Maximum speed. We have a promise to keep. The engines roared to life. The fleet began to move. Earth fell away behind them. Ahead was only darkness and stars, and somewhere in that darkness, the Krath were waiting, but so was humanity. And humanity was angry. The Mars shipyards never stopped working. Giant machines moved metal and fire across the red sky. Workers in spacesuits crawled over ship hulls like ants. Every dock was full. Every construction bay was active. Colonel Hyun-woo walked through the training grounds on Luna. Around him, 20,000 Marines practiced for war. They ran through obstacle courses in full armor. They practiced shooting in zero gravity. They learned how to fight in tight spaces. Hyun-woo was an old soldier. He had fought in the Belt Wars and the Titan Rebellion. He knew what real combat looked like. This would be different. This time, the enemy wasn't human. His second-in-command, Major Subin, jogged up to him. She was younger, faster, but just as experienced. She had volunteered the moment the call went out. The new recruits are struggling with the zero-gi combat, she reported. They'll learn or they'll die. Hyun-woo said. It sounded harsh, but it was true. How many hours until we ship out? 18 days. The fleet needs more time. Hyun-woo watched his soldiers train. They were good, but good might not be enough. Tell them we practice for 16 hours a day now. Sleep can wait until we're on the ships. Subin nodded and ran off to spread the word. In the Jupiter orbital yards, engineer Jae-min worked on the Hammer-class dreadnoughts. These ships were new, experimental, and absolutely deadly. The main weapon was a railgun. It used magnets to throw metal rods at incredible speeds. The rods were made of tungsten, one of the hardest metals humans knew. When they hit something, they didn't explode. They just punched through. Jae-min checked the calculations again. The math said each rod would hit with the force of a small nuclear bomb. Just from speed and mass. No explosives needed. Will it work? Asked one of his assistants. In theory, Jae-min said. We've tested it on asteroids. Never on actual ships. Never in real combat. What if it doesn't work? Jae-min looked at the massive gun barrel stretching along the ship's spine. Then we have a backup plan. The backup plan was the Hellstorm missiles. These were illegal in Earth space, banned by 3 different treaties. They used nuclear explosions to power laser beams. One missile could cut through a battleship. Admiral Dae-ho had authorized their use. When someone questioned it, he had been very clear. The Krath don't follow our treaties. We're not fighting a police action. We're fighting monsters. Dr. Nari worked in a different kind of lab. She studied biology. Specifically, alien biology. Earth had received some data about the Krath from deep space probes. Not much, but enough. The Krath were like insects. Big insects. They worked as a hive. One mind controlling many bodies. Their ships were grown, not built. Living things that could heal themselves. Nari had been studying them for 2 weeks straight. She barely slept. There had to be a weakness. Everything had a weakness. She found it on day 16. The Krath used pheromones to communicate, chemical signals that told each bug what to do. If you disrupted those signals, the hive would fall apart. They would lose coordination, start attacking each other, even. Nari created a chemical weapon. She called it silence. It would spread through air or vacuum, breaking down the Krath pheromones. She didn't know if it would work, but it was better than nothing. She brought her research to Admiral Dae-ho personally. He listened carefully, looking at her data. How much can you make? He asked. Enough for maybe 10 deployments. We don't have time for more. Make 20. We'll find the time. Back on Earth, people watched the preparations on their screens. Some supported it. Others protested. They said humanity should focus on its own problems, that the Velans weren't their responsibility. Ambassador Heejin gave a speech that changed many minds. She stood in front of the United Earth building, cameras recording everything. Some ask why we should help strangers, she said. Why we should risk our people for aliens we've never met. I'll tell you why. Because today, the Velans are strangers. Tomorrow, it could be us. Because a universe where no one helps is a universe where everyone dies alone. Because we're better than that. The speech went viral. Recruitment centers were flooded. More people wanted to join than there were spots available. On the Indomitable, Admiral Dae-ho reviewed the fleet status. 42 ships. It seemed like a lot. But the Krath had conquered 17 star systems. They probably had hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. His tactical officer approached. Sir, intelligence estimates will be outnumbered at least 5 to 1. Possibly 10 to 1. Good, Dae-ho said. Sir, if we weren't outnumbered, it wouldn't be interesting. He smiled, but his eyes were serious. Numbers aren't everything. The Krath have been fighting scared civilians. They've never fought soldiers. They've never fought angry humans. 3 days before departure, all the pieces came together. The ships were armed. The soldiers were trained. The weapons were loaded. Colonel Hyunwoo gathered his Marines for a final briefing. They stood in formation in a massive hangar. 20,000 men and women in powered armor. We don't know what we're going to find at Valara Prime, Hyunwoo said. His voice echoed in the space. The Velans might already be dead. The Krath might have moved on. Or we might be flying into the biggest fight of our lives. He paused, looking at the faces of his troops. But here's what I do know. We're going because someone asked for help. We're going because it's right. And we're going to show these Krath bastards that humanity doesn't run from bullies. We run toward them. With guns. The Marines cheered. The sound was deafening. Major Subin stood beside Hyunwoo, watching the troops. Think they're ready? No one's ever ready for their first alien war, Hyun-woo said. But they're as ready as they can be. In her lab, Dr. Nari loaded the last batch of silence into storage containers. 20 deployments. As ordered. She hoped it would be enough. She hoped it would work at all. Engineer Jae-min ran final tests on the railguns. Everything checked out. The weapons would fire. They would hit their targets. Whether they would be enough against living ships, he didn't know. On launch day, Earth stopped. Everyone watched. The fleet gathered in high orbit, 42 ships shining in the sunlight. The biggest war fleet humanity had ever built. Admiral Dae-ho sat in his command chair. Around him, the bridge crew worked. Outside the windows, he could see the other ships in formation. Good ships. Good crews. All vessels report ready, Admiral, his communications officer said. Dae-ho thought about the Velans. About their desperate message. About how they thought no one was coming. Send a message to Velara Prime, he ordered. Broadcast it on all frequencies. Sir. I know. Send it anyway. The communications officer nodded. What should it say? Dae-ho thought for a moment. Tell them, we heard you. We're coming. Hold on. The message was sent. Racing through space at the speed of light. It would arrive long after the fleet did. All ships, Dae-ho announced. Engage hyperspace drives. Course set for Velara Prime. We're going to war. The engines changed pitch. Reality bent around the ships. One by one, they vanished into hyperspace, leaving Earth behind. They were coming. Fire and steel. Crossing the galaxy to answer a cry for help. The Krath had no idea what was heading their way. Hyperspace was strange. The windows showed colors that didn't exist in normal space. Purple, mixed with sounds. Light moved like water. The crew learned not to look too long. It gave headaches. The fleet traveled for 2 weeks before they found the first Krath. Commander Sang-woo was on duty when the sensors detected them. His ship, the Relentless, was at the front of the formation. A destroyer, fast and armed with the new railguns. Contact, his sensor officer called. 3 ships, Krath signatures, battle stations, Sang-woo ordered. Alarms rang through the ship. Alert the Admiral. On the Indomitable, Admiral Dae-ho received the report. All ships, reduce speed. Combat formation. Let's see what we're dealing with. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Normal space returned. And there, on the screens, were the Krath ships. They looked alive. Organic. Like giant insects made of metal and flesh. They pulsed with light. Moved in ways that made no sense. No ship should move like that. They're scanning us, Sang-woo's tactical officer reported. Let them look, Sang-woo said. Charge the railgun. Target the lead ship. The Krath ships moved closer. They were curious. They had never seen human ships before. Probably thought this would be easy. They're powering weapons, tactical called. Fire, Sang-woo ordered. The railgun spoke with a sound like thunder. The tungsten rod left the ship at 3% of light speed. It crossed the distance in a heartbeat. The Krath ship never had time to dodge. The rod hit dead center, punched through the hull like it was paper, came out the other side. The ship broke apart, fluids spraying into space. The other 2 Krath ships stopped moving. Like they couldn't believe what they just saw. Fire at will. Admiral Dae-ho's voice came over the fleet channel. All ships engage. 42 ships opened fire at once. Railgun rounds filled space. The 2 remaining Krath ships tried to run. They didn't make it. They were torn apart in seconds. Cease fire, Dae-ho ordered. Damage report. Dae-ho. Damage report. No hits taken, sir, came the responses. 42 ships, all intact. Sang-woo looked at the debris field. 3 Krath ships destroyed in under a minute. The Krath had been conquering star systems while fighting enemies who used energy weapons. They had never faced kinetic weapons before. Never faced solid metal moving at impossible speeds. They didn't even hurt us, his tactical officer said, sounding surprised. They will, Sangwoo said. They'll learn. They always do. The fleet continued. 2 more weeks passed. The second battle came near a red dwarf star. This time, the Krath were ready. Launch all fighters, Admiral Daeho ordered. Carriers, deploy your wings. Lieutenant Unji sat in her cockpit on the carrier Valiant. She was 24 years old and the best pilot in the fleet. Around her, 100 other fighters prepared to launch. All pilots, listen up, she said over the squadron channel. These things are fast. They're maneuverable, but they're bugs. And we're the exterminators. Stay in formation, watch each other's backs, and kill everything that moves. The fighters launched into space. Immediately, the Krath swarmed them. Yoonji had fought in simulators her whole career. She thought she was ready for anything. But the Krath fighters moved in ways that broke physics. They turned, without slowing. Changed direction, without thrust. They're organic, she realized. They're not ships, they're animals. A Krath fighter dove at her. She waited until the last second, then rolled. Her guns spoke. Solid rounds tore through the creature. It died spinning. Around her, space filled with fire and death. Human fighters used missiles and guns. Krath fighters used some kind of bioplasma. When it hit a human ship, it ate through the hull. Delta Wing, form up on me, Yoonji called. We're going for their command ship. 6 fighters fell into formation behind her. They dove through the chaos, dodging plasma and debris. The Krath command ship was huge, 3 times the size of a human destroyer. Target the bridge. Or whatever they use for a bridge. Fire everything. 7 fighters opened up at once. Missiles and bullets struck the command ship. It shuddered. Started to break apart. Then, it exploded, taking 20 Krath fighters with it. The Krath formation collapsed. Without coordination, they started running into each other, firing randomly. All fighters, clean them up, Yoonji ordered. The battle turned into a slaughter. The human fleet's main guns destroyed the larger Krath ships. The fighters hunted down the smaller ones. Within an hour, it was over. But this time, humanity took losses. 3 fighters destroyed. A frigate damaged by plasma fire. 12 people dead. Admiral Daeho stood on his bridge, looking at the casualty reports. 12 names. 12 families who would get bad news. The Krath are learning, his tactical officer said. They adapted their tactics. So will we, Daeho replied. The third battle was the worst. 4 weeks into the journey, the fleet approached a neutron star. The sensors detected it too late. Krath ships were everywhere. Hundreds of them, waiting in ambush. All ships, evasive action, Daeho ordered. But there was nowhere to go. The Krath had them surrounded. The battle was chaos. Krath ships fired from all sides. Their plasma weapons had been upgraded. Stronger, more focused. Human ships started taking real damage. A cruiser took a direct hit. Its shields failed. The hull breached. Emergency bulkheads sealed. But 50 crew were lost. We can't win this, Daeho's second-in-command said. Daeho studied the tactical display. The neutron star was close. Gravity was intense. Dangerous. But also useful. All ships, full power to engines. Plot a slingshot course around the neutron star. Sir, that's insane. The gravity will tear us apart. The Krath don't know that, Daeho said. And I'm betting our ships are tougher than theirs. Do it. The fleet turned as one. Engines screaming, they dove toward the neutron star. The Krath followed. Thinking the humans were running, the gravity grabbed them, pulled them faster and faster. The ships groaned. metal stressed. But human engineers built tough ships. On my mark, Daeho said. Launch all Hellstorm missiles. Set them for delayed detonation. Mark. Every ship in the fleet fired. Hundreds of missiles launched backward into the Krath formation. Then, the human fleet whipped around the neutron star, using its gravity to slingshot away at incredible speed. The Krath tried to follow, but their organic ships couldn't handle the stress. They started breaking apart. And then, the Hellstorm missiles detonated. Nuclear fire bloomed in space. The missiles' laser beams cut through ship after ship. The neutron star's gravity bent the beams, making them even more deadly. The Krath fleet was caught in a trap of its own making. By the time the human fleet was clear, over 200 Krath ships were destroyed. But it cost them. 2 destroyers lost, a cruiser crippled, 300 dead. Admiral Daeho read the names. Every single one. He owed them that much. How far to Valara Prime? He asked. 2 weeks, sir. Push the engines. We've lost too much time already. The fleet continued. Behind them, the Krath licked their wounds. Ahead, Valara Prime waited. On her fighter, Yunji painted 3 kill marks. 3 Krath command ships. But she didn't feel proud. She kept thinking about the pilots they'd lost. We're coming, she whispered to the distant Velans. Just hold on a little longer. In his quarters, Colonel Hyunwoo prepared his Marines. They had drilled every day during the journey, but drills weren't combat. Soon they would face the Krath in close quarters. Soon, they would see what these monsters really were. The fleet emerged into the Valara system 2 months after leaving Earth. What they found made everyone go silent. The space around the planet was full of debris. Velan ships, broken and drifting. Satellites, destroyed. Orbital stations, cracked open like eggs, and surrounding it all, a fleet of 300 Krath ships, blocking access to the planet. My God, someone whispered. Admiral Daeho stood, looking at the impossible odds. 300 ships. His 40 ships. Wounded ships. Tired crews. He activated the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Daeho. You see what we're facing. You know the odds. No one would blame you for being afraid. I'm afraid. But fear doesn't matter. What matters is why we came. He paused. Somewhere on that planet, people are dying. They called for help. We answered. Now we finish it. All ships. Weapons free. Show them what humanity does to bullies. The fleet advanced into hell. The Krath fleet moved as one. 300 ships against 40. The numbers were clear. This should be a massacre. Admiral Daeho smiled. Target their formation center. Hammer-class dreadnoughts. Fire everything. The 6 dreadnoughts opened up. Their railguns had been modified during the journey. Faster. Stronger. They fired in sequence, creating a wall of tungsten death. The first volley hit the Krath center formation. 20 ships exploded. Just gone. The metal rods punched through ship after ship, each one destroying multiple targets. Again, Daeho ordered. The second volley killed 30 more ships. The Krath formation wavered. They had never seen weapons like this. Energy shields didn't stop solid metal. Armor meant nothing at these speeds. All ships, advance, Daeho commanded. Close to knife-fighting range, the human fleet charged forward. It looked insane. It was insane. But the Krath expected them to keep their distance. Expected a long-range battle. Instead, humanity brought the fight to their faces. Commander Sangwoo's Relentless led the charge. His railgun spoke again and again. Each shot killed. The Krath tried to return fire, but they were panicking now. Their plasma weapons were missing. Marines, prepare for boarding action, Sangwoo ordered. Colonel Hyunwoo stood in the drop bay. Around him, 2,000 Marines in powered armor waited. Their weapons were ready. Their faces were hard. The Krath command carriers are the big ones, Hyunwoo said over the company channel. We're going inside. We're going to their bridge, and we're going to kill everything between here and there. The bay doors opened. Space yawned before them. Go, go, go. The Marines launched. Small pods shot from every ship in the fleet. Thousands of armored soldiers flying through space toward Krath vessels. The Krath point defense tried to stop them. Plasma fire filled space. Some pods were destroyed, but most made it through. 49. 46. Major Subin's pod hit first. It crashed through the hull of a Krath carrier. The pod opened, and she stepped out into an alien ship. It was alive inside. The walls pulsed. The air was thick and hot, and it smelled like death. Krath warriors came at them. Big as humans, but insect-like. Multiple arms, mandibles, weapons that spat acid. Subin didn't hesitate. She fired. Her rifle used depleted uranium rounds. They tore through Krath armor like tissue. 3 bugs went down. Advance, she shouted. Her squad pushed forward. The Krath were fast. They swarmed. But humans in powered armor were unstoppable. Each Marine was a tank. Their armor shrugged off acid. Their fists broke Krath bones. One bug jumped at Subin. She caught it in midair and threw it into a wall. The wall broke. The bug didn't get up. This is for Valara, she said, and kept moving. In space, Lieutenant Yunji led her fighters through the chaos. The Krath had launched their own fighters again. Thousands of them. Stay together, she called. Don't get separated. A swarm came at her. She rolled, fired, killed 3. The Krath fought alone, each one trying to be the hero. It made them predictable. Delta Wing. With me. We're going for the flagship. The Krath flagship was massive. Bigger than anything humanity had built. It sat in the center of their formation, coordinating the fleet. Dr. Nari's voice came over Yunji's radio. Lieutenant, I'm uploading new data to your missiles. Load. Package. Silence. Yunji checked her missiles. One was now marked differently. What is this? 1. My chemical weapon. Get it inside that flagship. Into their atmosphere. It'll disrupt their hive communications. 1 missile to take down a flagship? Trust me. Yunji trusted her. She dove toward the flagship. Krath fighters swarmed her. She ignored them. Her shields could take a few hits. She just needed 1 shot. The flagship grew large in her canopy. She could see openings in the hull. Hangar bays. She aimed for the biggest one. Fox 3, she said. And fired. The missile streaked across space. Krath point defense tried to stop it. Failed. The missile entered the hangar and detonated. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the flagship started spinning, firing randomly. Its fighters lost coordination, started running into each other. It works, Yunji shouted. The chemical works. All fighters. Hit the big ships with silence packages. Inside a Krath carrier, Colonel Hyunwoo and his squad reached the bridge. They had fought through 100 meters of ship. The walls were covered in Krath blood. Green and thick. The bridge door was huge. Organic. Pulsing. Breach it. Hyunwoo ordered. They placed charges. Everyone stepped back. The explosion tore the door apart. Inside was the Krath command. 20 bugs. Bigger than the warriors. Their brains were visible through transparent skulls. They were thinking. Commanding the ship. They looked at the humans. The humans looked back. Fire, Hyunwoo said. The bridge became a slaughterhouse. The command bugs died before they could react. The ship immediately lost power. Started drifting. Good work, Hyunwoo said. Next target. Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Daeho watched the battle unfold. The silence weapon was working. Krath ships were losing coordination, firing on each other. The tight formation they had started with was chaos now. "Time to end this," he said. "All ships, activate Project Sunstrike." Engineer Jae-min had been waiting for this order. His secret project. Every ship in the fleet had been modified. Their reactors could link together. Share power. "Reactors linked," he reported. "Power building." Every human ship stopped firing, started glowing. Energy built up, visible even in space. The Krath saw it, didn't understand it, kept attacking. "Fire," Daeho ordered. 40 ships fired as one. Not bullets, not missiles, pure energy, concentrated and focused. A beam that lit up the entire system. The beam hit the Krath flagship. Cut through it like butter. Kept going. Hit 3 more capital ships behind it. They all exploded. The blast was visible from the planet below, like a second sun being born. "Again," Daeho said. They fired twice more. Each time, multiple Krath ships died. "Pursue," Daeho ordered. His voice was cold. "No survivors. They wanted to wipe out the Velans. We'll wipe them out instead." The hunt began. Human ships were faster. The Krath couldn't escape. One by one, they were destroyed. Railguns, missiles, energy weapons. Every tool humanity had brought. Commander Sangwoo's relentless cornered a Krath cruiser trying to hide behind Valara's moon. One shot from his railgun ended it. Lieutenant Yunji's squadron hunted down the fleeing fighters. "For every world you burned," she shouted as she fired. It became a battle cry. Other pilots took it up. In the debris field, Major Subin and her Marines finished clearing the last carrier they had boarded. Every Krath was dead. The ship was theirs. "Sir, the hull is compromised," one of her Marines reported. "This ship is dying. Then we leave," Subin said. Back to the pods. They made it out just before the carrier broke apart. 6 hours after the battle started, it ended. The space around Valara Prime was quiet, full of debris, both human and Krath, but quiet. Admiral Daeho looked at the casualty reports. 300 Krath ships destroyed. Not one escaped. "Open a channel to the planet," Daeho ordered. His communications officer worked. "Channel open, sir. We're broadcasting on all frequencies." Daeho took a breath. "This is Admiral Daeho of the United Earth Defense Fleet. Valara Prime, we received your message. We came as fast as we could. The Krath are gone. You're safe now." Silence. Then a response came. Weak, full of static. "But there, human fleet. You came. You actually came. We thought. We thought we were alone." Admiral Daeho felt something in his chest. Pride. Relief. "You were never alone. You just didn't know we existed yet. Permission to land relief teams? Permission granted. Please." "We're coming down," Daeho promised. He turned to his crew. They were exhausted, bloodied, but victorious. "Get me Colonel Hyun-woo, and prepare medical teams. We have a planet to save." The first shuttle landed on Valara Prime 3 hours after the battle ended. Colonel Hyun-woo stepped out first, his boots touching alien soil for the first time in his life. The planet was beautiful. Crystal structures rose from the ground, catching the light and splitting it into rainbows. But many of the crystals were broken, shattered, burned. The Velans emerged from underground shelters. They were not like humans at all. Their bodies were made of living crystal, semi-transparent, with light moving inside them. They walked on 4 legs and had no faces humans could recognize. But their voices, translated through computers, were filled with emotion. "You came," one of them said. Its crystal body pulsed with colors. "You really came." Hyun-woo didn't know what to say. "We received your message. We came as fast as we could. We." More Velans appeared. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. They surrounded the landing zone, not threatening, just watching, unable to believe what they were seeing. An older Velen approached. It was larger than the others, with crystals that shone like diamonds. "I am Velis," it said. The translator made its voice sound old and tired. "I lead what remains of our people. We sent that message 3 months ago. We never thought anyone would hear. Never thought anyone would care. We heard," Hyunwoo said. "And we cared. How many of you are left?" Velis's light dimmed. 3 million. We were 20 million before the Krath came. They killed so many. Took so many for food. Hyunwoo felt sick. For food. The Krath eat intelligent beings. They prefer it. We were. Velis seemed to struggle with the word. We were. Cattle. To them. Behind Hyunwoo, his marines went very still. One of them spoke quietly. "Sir, permission to go back up and kill them again." "They're already dead, soldier," Hyunwoo said, but he understood the feeling. Over the next week, human ships landed across Velara Prime. Medical teams set up hospitals. Engineers helped repair the crystal cities. Soldiers stood guard against any Krath that might return. Dr. Nari worked with the Velen healers. The Velens didn't have blood like humans. They were silicon-based life, not carbon-based. But pain was universal. Suffering was universal. She learned that the Velens were peaceful. They had no military. When the Krath came, they tried diplomacy, tried surrender. Nothing worked. The Krath just wanted to feed. "We have records," Velis told her, sharing data crystals. Records of other species. 23 civilizations destroyed by the Krath. We are the first to survive. Nari looked through the records. 23 species. Billions of beings. All gone. Eaten or enslaved. She took the data to Admiral Daeho, who had come down to the planet. He sat with Velis in what had been the Velen capital. "The Krath have been doing this for centuries," Daeho said, looking at the data. "Yes," Velis replied. "They are a plague. We thought. We hoped they would be satisfied with our system. Move on. But they stay. Build hives. Use worlds as breeding grounds. How many Krath are there? We don't know. Our sensors detected hive signals from 10 different star systems. Each system might have thousands of ships." Daeho was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. "We killed 300 ships here. That's not victory. That's just one battle. Will you leave?" Velis asked. The question was careful. "Afraid. You saved us. We are grateful. But will you leave us to defend ourselves now?" Daeho looked at the crystal being. "No. We're not leaving. We're going to build a defense station in your orbit. Train your people to fight. And when the Krath come back, because they will come back, we'll be ready." Velis's entire body glowed bright. "You would do this? For strangers?" "You're not strangers anymore," Daeho said. "You're allies." Major Subin worked with Velen volunteers. Teaching them to fight was hard. They had no concept of warfare. No word for enemy in their language before the Krath came. But they learned. They were motivated. They had seen their families eaten. Their homes burned. They would never be helpless again. "Hold the rifle steady," Subin instructed a young Velen. Its crystal hands struggled with the human weapon. "Humans designed these for humans. We'll make you weapons that fit your bodies better." The Velen practiced. After a week, it could hit targets. After 2 weeks, it could hit moving targets. After 3 weeks, Subin trusted it to watch her back. Engineer Jaemin worked on something else. The Velens had technology humans didn't. They could manipulate subspace naturally. Their crystals could store and channel enormous energy. "If we combine human weapons with Velen power sources," Jaemin explained to his team, "we could make something incredible." They built a prototype, A human railgun powered by a Velen crystal. When they tested it, the shot left the barrel at 10% light speed, 5 times faster than human technology alone. "We need to share this with Earth," Jamin said. But there was a problem. A big problem. Lieutenant Yunji was on patrol when her sensors picked it up. Deep space signals. Krath frequencies. Coming from multiple directions. "Admiral, we have contacts. Lots of contacts. They're still far out. But they're coming this way." On the surface, Admiral Deho received the report. He looked at Velis. "Your data was right. They're coming back. How many?" "Our sensors show at least 1,500 ships. Maybe more." Velis dimmed completely. "We cannot survive that. Even with your help." Deho thought hard. "How long until they get here?" 6 months. Then we have 6 months to prepare." He activated his communicator. "Get me Earth. Priority channel." The transmission took time. When the response came, it was Ambassador He Jin. "Admiral, what's your status?" "Valara Prime is secure, but we have a problem. The Krath are returning in force. We need reinforcements." "A lot of reinforcements." There was a pause. "Admiral, Earth can't send another fleet. We don't have the resources. It took everything to send you." "Then we need something else," Deho said. "We need an alliance. A real one. Valara Prime needs to become a joint world. Human and Velen together." Another pause. Longer this time. "That's never been done before," He-Jin said. "Then it's time we did it. These people called for help. We answered. Now we finish what we started. We make this world defensible. We stop the Krath here, or they'll keep spreading until they reach Earth." He-Jin was quiet. Then, "I'll bring it to the Council. Stand by." The vote took 3 days. In the end, it passed. The Valara Accords were signed by both species. Human engineers would build orbital defenses. Velen scientists would share their technology. Together, they would create a fortress world. Colonel Hyun-woo watched the construction begin. Massive stations taking shape in orbit. Weapons platforms. Shield generators. Shipyards where human and Velen workers labored side by side. "Think it'll be enough?" Major Subin asked. "I don't know," Hyun-woo admitted. "But it's what we have, and we'll make it work." 6 months later, the Krath returned. 1,500 ships dropped out of hyperspace, ready to reclaim their feeding ground. What they found was not a helpless crystal world. They found a fortress. They found weapons. And they found humans who remembered every species the Krath had destroyed. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Krath fleet was gone. All of it. The orbital defenses held. The alliance held. A year after the first distress signal, a monument was built in the Velen capital. It was made of melted Krath armor and human ship metal, fused together by Velen crystal technology. The monument showed 2 figures. One human, one Velen, standing together, hands clasped. The inscription was in both languages. They cried for help. We answered with fire and steel. And the galaxy learned, humanity does not abandon those in need. Admiral Deho stood before the monument with Velis. Around them, humans and Velens worked together, building, creating, living. "What now?" Velis asked. Deho looked up at the stars. "Now we make sure this never happens again. We find other species, build more alliances, and when the Krath come again, because they will, we'll be ready." "You really think you can stop them? All of them?" Deho smiled. "The Krath have been conquering for centuries. They think they're unstoppable. But they made one mistake. They hurt someone within earshot of humanity. And humanity doesn't forgive. We don't forget. We just get stronger." In orbit, new ships were being built. Human hulls with Velen crystals. Faster, stronger, better than either species could make alone. On Earth, the distress signal was taught in every school. The response was studied in every military academy. The lesson was simple. When someone calls for help, you answer. And across the galaxy, other species heard the story. About the Velans who thought they would die alone. About the humans who traveled across space to help strangers. About the alliance that stopped a plague. The Kroth still existed in the dark between stars. Still conquered, still fed, but now they knew fear. They knew that there was a species that would come for them. A species that responded to cries for help with fire and steel. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage. And the galaxy would never be the same.